So hi and welcome to another review, and today we're going to be checking out something that you might not have heard of, which is the M1K gaming mouse. Now this mouse has been built from the bottom up. This is a prototype I've got here, been created by pro gamers themselves who have been doing this for about 7 years and prototyping it to try and get the perfect mouse. So why am I interested? Well, this features some interesting components here. One, it's made out of full carbon fibre. The only part that isn't is the base. It's using Japanese on-run switches, not the Chinese on-run switches. It's got a customized PCB here to reduce latency. It's also rocking a custom cable here as well for extra flexibility. So all these little bits together that they told me made me want to take a look at this mouse. So if you're not familiar with my channel, we go through a lot more detail than most reviewers here. We go through a 1000 FPS latency check here to see what the latency is against other mice. We've got a force gauge meter here to see what the glide performance is like and the button actuation. Got some scales, which everyone's really got. We've also got a caliper here to measure every little bit of this mouse or each mouse to understand the full dimensions. What I challenge you to do in the comments is comment about anything that I haven't picked up here because, well, we're going to go through everything. And if I haven't, let me know. And yeah, we'll see what goes on. If you want to go back and reference all this information, it's on my beardedbob.com website. And all the links for everything will be in the description. So let's get on with the review. So this one's got a little bit of an unusual pricing strategy. It's on Kickstarter. Obviously, this mouse has been sent out to me, but as you know, none of this will change my review here. I'll give you my honest opinion. And if I don't do that, you'll see it in all the statistics and charts anyway, so you'll be able to tell from line on up. So there are a few different options here. The first 100 Kickstarters will get this for €149. This is for a limited time. So if you want to get that deal, you're going to need to get it either before the first 100 sell or before the 48 hours limit is up. Then the next 100, you're going to get it for €169. Then after that, while the Kickstarter's running, it'll be €189. And then once the Kickstarter's finished, it's going to be a whopping €249. This can be an expensive mouse here, but it is very tailored, I'm told. We're going to find that out in this review. It's certainly going to have to be for €249 here, and that puts it well above anything else in the current market. So there's a Discord channel that's very helpful that they run, and that gives you a lot of information here, and they'll go into all the kind of detail you want. Even my mind was blown with some of the detail, especially around the cabling. So you're not going to have any problems trying to get this detail. These guys know what they're talking about. And there is also a blog site where they detail what's going on with this mouse. So let's look at the design here and the shape, because that's mainly the thing that stands out to you straight away here. This is a carbon fiber shell. This is not carbon fiber look. It is carbon fiber. I'm told it's very hard to work with, and I can understand that. And it is extremely strong because it's carbon fiber. Carbon fiber, carbon fiber, carbon fiber. It's got a 3D printed base, which is in a honeycomb effect inside here. You can have this in a custom color. You can also have your name engraved on the PCB if you're one of the very first Kickstarters. So again, ask about that question in the board or try and get there and you'll have a look at the details on the Kickstarter and you might be able to customize it a little bit more to what you want. It's got 2 buttons left and right. There's no scroll wheel. There's no side buttons. This is purely a left and right mouse button only. It's got some nice comfort grooves in here for your fingers to sit in nicely into the curve. The buttons are part of the shell. They're not independent of the shell, so there's no wobble here. It's already got hyperglides on the base here that they're running, which is good to see. It's got a black rubber cable, which is a bit unusual because a lot of people are going for shoelace or power cord at the minute. We're going to get into that cabling a little bit more in detail later on. The sides here are slightly tapered upwards, and we'll get into the dimensions, but there's no kind of inset here for your fingers because obviously this is just a fingertip mouse. So the build quality, while it's carbon fiber, is absolutely rock hard. You cannot even crush this thing. It's ridiculous. There's no rattles, no squeaks, no creaks, no side flex. There's nothing. This thing is built absolutely rock hard. So what type of grip is this for and what kind of games is this for? Well, this is a fingertip grip. They've designed it more for RTS, which is what they like. And it's also can be used in things like CSGO or FPS competitive shooters if you have a fingertip grip. Now, as you'll see throughout this video, I'm also playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare Beta here using this mouse, and I found it to be actually pretty good, surprisingly, even though I'm more of a palm hybrid claw grip. So as you can see here with my hand, which is an 18 by 9 centimeter, and my girlfriend's hand, which is a 16 by 7.5 centimeter, you can see this mouse is obviously very small compared to our hands, but with a fingertip grip here, it does work. There's certainly enough sides here for me to get purchase on it, and my girlfriend also had no issues with that at all either. So it's something I'm trying to get used to here, this fingertip grip throughout this video, so we have to bear that in mind. It is my natural grip, especially when you're looking at some of the gameplay and my sensor tests, and we'll go into that in a bit. If you want to understand any of these measurements in this video, there's another video that's linked in the description that goes through how I do all the measurements in these tests to give you an idea. I haven't done it in the videos now because it's getting quite long. If you want to understand what I'm talking about here, a little bit more detail, go and check out that video. So the first latency test, which obviously the name says it all, is a human benchmark. There is potential here for me to be part of the latency. And comparing this to the other mice, this thing came in with the fastest benchmark yet, which is good to see because the XM1 just came with the fastest. And now this is just beating it with an average of 163 milliseconds, which is quick. So it's a good start. Let's see how it does in the rest of the latency test. So on to the first FPS latency here. We're using a 1000 FPS camera here. We're using CSGO. I am going to use Rainbow 6. But for now, we're just using CSGO, and then I'll do all the retrofitting of the other mice to fit Rainbow 6. Comparing the mice that we've done here, this came with an average latency for the movement of 16 milliseconds, which again puts it as the fastest mouse so far. The G Pro Wireless came in before that at 17 milliseconds. So using Blood PK here, we did the left mouse button latency test, and it came with an average of 155 milliseconds, which puts it in second place. And then we did the right mouse button, and it came in with an average of 160, which again puts it in second place. So not quickest in this test, but pretty quick to be fair. Then we did the bump test, and we took the reigning champion at the minute, which is the XM1, which is beating the G Pro Wireless. It's beating the Razer Viper, and the M1K here came and beat it with the left mouse button, and then it beat it with the right mouse button, which means we've got a new champ here, the MK1. So they're certainly holding up to what they've said here, where they've customized this to be very, very latency optimized. So it's very efficient here. Obviously, the lower the latency, the quicker this reacts, and how quickly it reacts in a game for you. So then we come in with the CSGO button test here, and this one didn't fare as well here. It came with the longest latency of 31 milliseconds. There was a large one there of 47 milliseconds, which probably pushed this up a bit, but even then it still wasn't as quick as some of these in this test, and it puts it in last place in this latency test. So clicks per second here, I use a random website. I've changed it again, but we're getting 6 clicks per second here out of this mouse, which puts it in a good position, but it's not in first, but it's not bad. So the button feel here, well, these are on-run Japanese switches. The guys who created this sent me a link showing me how the Japanese ones are made compared to the Chinese ones, which was very interesting. Obviously, that's kind of detail these guys have gone into. They've been picking each component and tailoring it to this mouse. I didn't expect to feel any difference here. I've used a lot of Chinese on-runs, used a lot of Huano switches, got the name right again, I think, and even the Razer optomechanicals, and these ones feel really nice. These on-run Japanese certainly feel better than my G Pro Wireless, which is using the Chinese, and some of the other Logitech ones. It's a lot snappier here. They're more comparable now to the Huano switches, which I think a lot of people complained when a lot of companies swapped from Japanese to Chinese on-run switches because of the price. So these feel really, really good. There's minimum pre-travel here. They've got these buttons right on top of the switch here, which is good to see. And there's a little bit of post-travel, but nothing here, still minimal. To be fair, they're doing a good job here. So we whip out the force gauge meter, and the left front actuation is 33 grams. The middle is 49 grams, and the rear is 247 grams. The right front is 39 grams, middle 74 grams, and rear 279 grams. That gives these buttons an average force actuation of the left being 123 grams and the right being 136 grams. And one thing to note here is that the average is a little bit high because of the rear of these buttons, which is pretty hard to press, but it's carbon fiber, which is quite tough anyway. And you won't be pushing around there because of the fingertip grip here. So I think it's probably given this one a little bit of a false reading here. And if you look at the front and middle actuation forces on these against the other mice, you'll see that these are actually the lightest clicks out there at the minute. So going on to the sensor test here, I draw some nice pictures here using the mouse, and this one, well, this one is horrific from my point of view, purely because I had trouble controlling the mouse, not because the sensor's rubbish, because we've done a lot of these 33.6s and we know it's good. And this one does feel good, it's just I cannot control it very well with this fingertip grip. One thing to note is the mouse comes at 1000 polling rate as default, and it can be overclocked to 8000. I haven't done this yet because I was having trouble trying to get the software to work for the drivers and overclock it. And I will be doing that, and I'll be doing some more tests to see whether we can get the button press or anything like that a little bit quicker, because maybe that was holding it back in some of the latency tests. If it is, this is going to be a hell of a quick mouse because it's won most of them, to be fair. So I haven't done a slam test because no 33.6 has spun out yet. So overall, this mouse performed well as expected on the sensor test here. So we get into the Kovak test here, and the current reigning champion is my G Pro Wireless. This is my daily, so that's no surprise. It's coming with a final sum of 98, an accuracy of 98%, and a final score of 96, which is put me reasonably good. I've improved it from the last 92 here, so I'm starting to train a bit more on Kovak. But the first test here with the M1K comes in with a sum of 93, average accuracy of 84, and a final of 78. The second sum was 89, accuracy 87, and the final was 78. And the third sum was 94, accuracy 89 and the final of 83. You can see I'm struggling for accuracy really. The average sum was 92, the accuracy was 87 and the final overall was 80. So we haven't really done many Kovak tests here to compare, so we'll end up showing that chart later on, but I did feel that I could actually probably get a lot more out of this mouse in Kovak if I had some more time with it. I felt that the mouse was quicker for me to target. I just needed to home tune my accuracy a little bit more, and once I got that, I'd certainly probably get a better score than my G Pro Wireless, which was interesting. So now moving on to 3D Aim Trainer here, and my first run was 125,205 with an accuracy of 74. Second run was 129,155 with an accuracy of 73%. And the third one was 119,451 with an accuracy of 65%. I gave my average score of 124,604 and an accuracy of 71%. Comparing that to the other mice that I've done on the test has changed recently, so these are only the newer mice that I've been running on this test. Again, we'll catch up. It puts the MK1 as my best score here on 3D Aim, and I certainly felt that, again, the movement was really, really good with this mouse, much better than my other mice I've been testing, and even my G Pro Wireless, which felt like a bit like a brick when I came back to it. I just need to get my accuracy up. Maybe it's a little bit too quick, and maybe I just need to refine it. So what these two aim tests did do was it really made me question whether I could or should switch to a fingertip grip, because I think if I could optimize my grip to use the MK1 here, I could certainly be a lot faster. I just need to see if I could be more precise with the accuracy here. So we're on that word of weight. Well, this mouse comes in ridiculously light. This is the lightest mouse I've ever tested at 23 grams, they say. And then we weighed this on the scales and it comes in at 22 grams, which is just ridiculous. You can certainly tell that weight difference. Even against my 60 Pro G Pro Wireless that I've modded, this is still ridiculously light compared to it. If you want to know what it's like with the cable, it's 43 grams, which we'll go into the cable in a bit more detail. And that shows how different this cable is, because most of them are around 35 to 45 grams cables. So again, this cable is very light as well, even though it's a rubber compound. So moving on to the skate test here. Well, this thing has got hyperglides on it. And the first NFW came in at an average of 9. NFW was 11 grams. RSW was 16 grams. And RFW was 18 grams. This gives it an average glide of 14 grams, which again is really, really low. And it is going to be helped by its weight here. But that's still pretty low compared to most of the mice. So this puts it as the fastest mouse we've also tested on G640 here. So this is winning a lot of tests here to be the quickest mouse, that's for sure. We just got to get used to that grip. So we're on that grip. Let's look at the dimensions. Well, the length of it is 79 millimeters. The rear is 55 millimeters wide. The top middle is 55 millimeters. The bottom middle is 59 millimeters. And the front is 60 millimeters. So the rear height is 30 millimeters. The mid height is 24 and the front height is 19. The left mouse button is 25 millimeters wide and the right mouse button is identical at 25 millimeters wide as well. So comparing that against all the other mice we've done here, I've only compared small and medium class ones. This comes in at a very, very small mouse here, but it might give you an idea where it's going to fit if you're using something like the G305, something like that. I'm going to be reviewing the Ultralight 2 here. I've got the Model O Minus now, and I've also got the MM710, so I'm going to review all of those the next few weeks, so keep checking for that. So let's get into the cable, because we've been talking about the cable quite a lot in this video. And is it flexible? Well, it's going to be a little bit harder to show here because it hasn't got much weight, so you can see it moving. But it's certainly a lot flexible here given how light this mouse is and how much it's not pushing it across my desk. It's a lot more flexible than any other rubber cable I've come across. Certainly thinner than most of them. It comes in at a thinness of 2.3 millimeters, which isn't the thinnest, but it's certainly a thin rubber cable. It's got a jacket of polyurethane here, which makes it a little bit more durable, a little more flexible. They say it's got 19 small little cables inside it, which makes it extra flexible. A normal cable comes with something like 7, which it makes it quite rigid. I'm going to go through the teardown. And in that teardown, we're going to cut through the cable, this is some of the cable here. We're going to have a look at what it really looks like in the teardown video. I don't think this video is going to be the place to do it because of the amount of time this is going to take. But we're certainly going to take a good look inside this because it's got some Kevlar. It's got a little bit of everything in this cable. And it's going to be worth doing as part of the teardown video. Talk about the PCB in this one just because it's a little bit different. They've decided to take the finish of gold rather than tin, which comes into the price here. This is why this is an expensive mouse. We've got tighter traces in this, which is the lines around the PCB, which make it a lot easier to keep the PCB contracted here to make it a lot more lighter and a lot more less waste. It also helps with some of the latency, which is certainly what we're seeing here. And there's a load more detail to go into this on the PCB, and we might go into some more of this in the teardown video again, because that's probably where it's more relevant, to be fair. So the software, well, it doesn't come with any software. So I asked them a few questions. They said this is running a custom firmware. And what this allows you to do is hold down the mouse buttons together while the mouse is off the tabletop. Allows you then to customize your DPI, and it pops up and down the cursor to tell you what DPI level in 100 increments or to one of the sides to show you if you're in the thousands. And at first it was a little bit tricky to get used to. I actually quite liked it. And they were right, what this allows you to do is move it around a little bit better. If you're doing a lot of tournaments or something like that, and allow you not to have to install any software. I personally prefer some software, but given the configuration of this mouse, there's no other side buttons and things, I think having it so you can do it on the fly like that is probably a better option for this mouse. You can also change things like the lift-off distance as well. The default's 2mm, you can change it to 3mm, and you can do a few little things as well by holding down certain mouse buttons, which is cool to see. So the conclusion here, while it's certainly an expensive mouse, but I haven't seen any mouse with carbon fibre. I think there was one we saw, which was the thermal take, and it kind of used it as part of the mouse to try and sell it as a carbon fibre mouse, but it weighed something like 150 grams. This thing uses full carbon fibre shell. This is in a class of its own in terms of the shell, and I was impressed with that. I think it really is about if you can live with a fingertip grip. I did find that when I was using this mouse, I was looking for a scroll wheel when I was surfing, but when I was playing games with it, I think I got used to using the keyboard rather than having the scroll wheel, which I don't always use anyway. The thing glides like nothing else. This thing glides so fast. It's unreal, and I got to work out whether that's to do with the weight for my own personal understanding here, or whether it's just the way the mouse works because it's a fingertip, because I think it could be a lot more efficient with this weight of this mouse. Maybe not the fingertip, I don't know, because it probably gives me a little bit of cramp in my hand. Are they living up to the name of latency? Well, it only lost in one test, I think, maybe two. It was pretty good on latency, this thing. It's beaten everything. It's now king of the latency test for what we're going to be comparing things to. This is the one that we're going to be watching here. It's nice to see someone finally using hyperglides as the stock here, rather than creating their own feat, because a lot of reputation around hyperglides. I'm yet to confirm whether they're the best. I think it depends what mouse there is. But it's nice to see someone using this as part of their out-the-box configuration here. I mean, would I buy this mouse? I mean, comes down to whether you can live with the grip, whether you've got a serious amount of cash, because this is an expensive mouse. If you're a tournament player, I think even I've seen some benefit potentially in using this. It's up to you really. I think you're gonna have to decide that. I know on Kickstarter this is under a limited amount here, so certainly go and check it out if you're interested in it. And they've got a lot more detail, and I'll be looking forward to do the teardown test to see what comes up. So as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you again soon. See you later. Bye bye.